Okay, let's get started. Hi, I'm Bill, and if this is the first time dropping into my channel, welcome. I thought it might be appropriate to lay the foundation of the menu system. Many of the future videos will involve me going into the Fujifilm X-T4 menu system to set certain options that I'll use to produce certain types of results that I'm looking to produce. So I thought, what better way to do it than expose the menu system to you, thinking that maybe some of you are not familiar with it. One thing about menu systems, either love them or hate them. I just learned how to use them. I think sitting down with the manual, sitting down with your camera, stepping through it, you can learn the menu system pretty quick. Yeah, you may say it's not a logical layout and all that, but at the end of the day, I tend not to focus on that. I focus on how do I learn the menu system so I can use it to my advantage to optimize the value I can get out of my cameras. And again, today we're working with the Fujifilm X-T4. I want to show this document here. This is the back of the camera, and this is called the selector. It has 4 function buttons on it. It has a menu OK button, and down in the back it has display back button that kind of acts like an escape. Essentially, in going through the menus, to bring the menu up, I'll hit the menu OK. To move right, I'll hit number 2. To move left, I'll hit 4. To go down, I'll hit 3. And to go up in the menu, I'll hit 1. So hopefully this will make sense. So let's get started. Again, this is just a high-level overview to get you familiar with what the menu looks like, and then again in future videos we'll dig into many of the settings. This is what I see on the live view screen when I turn my camera on. I'm really not sure how it is generated, but it is there, and I'll dig into that and see if I have any options on what information is shown in this view. But there's some good stuff there, like your battery, which card slot. Again, the Fuji X-T4 has 2 card slots, so you can write data to both cards. You could write it to one card, back up to the other. You could put your files, your raw files on one, your video files on card 2. You could put your raw files on card 1, your JPEG files on card 2. We'll get into those options in a future video. So let's get into the menu, and let me just slide this over here a little bit. And what I'm going to do right now is hit this menu OK button on the back of the camera, and that brings us into the menu system. And as you see here, the first menu section, we have several sections along what I'll call the left panel. So let me go over to there. So we have the image quality, autofocus, manual focus, shooting settings, flash settings, and then setup settings. I'll touch on a couple of the settings in this video, but let's start with the image quality settings. And as you see to the right at the top, there's one of 3. That tells you that there's 3 screens worth of settings that you can step through to find options that might be relative to that section area here. Let me go over here, and right now, image quality, I use RAW, and we'll talk about that using JPEGs, using RAW files, using both. There's many options that you have. This is oftentimes people say there's too many options, and they like something that's a little simpler, but I really appreciate the number of options that Fuji presents to you in their menu system to get the exact configuration that you feel can optimize the results of the images that you want to produce based upon the genre of photography that you're working with at the time. So I'll quickly just step through these. We'll go on to page 2. White balance is always an important setting. There's the ability to do some image processing right in camera. That's interesting. That's something I don't know anything about, but we'll be digging into that. And then long exposure noise reduction, I have it off, but if you're going to do longer exposures, the longer that the exposure is, the more noise is also going to be present in the exposure, and there is a way to create a subtraction of that noise, and we'll go into that at some point. For the type of photography I do with the length of the exposures that I do, I turn that off. So there's some custom settings. I haven't dug into that yet. I really don't know what the mount adapter settings is yet, but I'll dig into that as well. Alright, so if I continue down, you'll see that it drops me down into the next area. Now the other way I could have done it was I could have gone over to the left channel, and then I could have arrowed down, and then I could have arrowed across. And for some reason in the autofocus, manual focus settings pages, it says 1 of 3, but there's really only 2 pages there. But we'll just kind of step through these. Autofocus mode is, for me, a very important group of settings, and I'm still learning a lot about autofocus when it comes to this Fujifilm camera, so I will be producing some videos around that. And how to maximize the options that are available when it comes to autofocus. And then on the second page, you know, these days cameras, they can do eye and face detection, which is kind of cool. And several different things that are available here, many that I have not used before or were not available on my Canons, so we'll be digging into that. Now here, if I go down, you would think we would go to page 3, but there seems to be no page 3. I'm not sure whether it is. I'll dig into that a little bit more. Now we're in the shooting settings. This one, let me go back. There's one that I find interesting because recently I've tried to shoot some sports with the Fuji X-T4. I've heard people say it's not an action or photography camera. I took it to the National Pickleball Championship down in Indian Wells Tennis Center or Tennis Garden in Indian Wells, California a couple weeks ago, and I rented a 70 by 300 millimeter lens to pair with the X-T4, and I got some fantastic shots. I think whether or not this is the right camera for shooting sports and action, I think is going to be based upon the type of sport or action you're looking to shoot. So one thing I will tell you, I'm an unbiased person in a sense. I'm sharing with you what my thoughts are. I'll be honest on what my views are. I'm not really here to promote Fuji. It's what I have, and so I'm using it to share with you my experience learning the Fuji X system. Alright, so this is always an interesting one, and probably something you've probably used before, and that's a self-timer. Scenario is you want to do a group photo, you've got your tripod, you set the camera up on it, you get all your exposure settings, and now you want to get from behind the camera to in front of the camera next to the other people that you have framed up in the image, and so you need some time. So you can set a timer for 10 seconds, which has been working out just fine for me. I think the other situation where I use a self-timer on 2 seconds is I'm doing maybe a longer exposure. I have to go with a slower shutter speed, so I'll set a 2-second timer. So when I push the shutter button, in a sense, the camera, relaxes for a bit. I don't have that shake. The camera kind of settles from me pushing the shutter down. So I find that very nice feature, and most cameras have this, I would expect. So again, there's settings here that I I guess interval timer shooting might be if you want to take an image every hour or something, or time lapse. I'm really not sure. We'll dig into that though. Shutter type, manual, or yeah, so there's different options on the shutter type you want to use. And this one here I'm going to do a video on. It's the ISO auto settings. You have auto 1, auto 2, and auto 3. On my X-T1 there was only one auto ISO setting. These I will use when I'm doing aperture priority excuse me, photography, and so I'll do a video on this. A lot of flexibility. Here we go. A lot of flexibility having 3 options available to you. All right, and wireless communication, and then we're into flash settings. I will be doing some videos on camera flash, off-camera flash. I've already used it. I've already done a group photo with multiple speed lights, did a group family photo with an umbrella, a modifier. We'll get into that type of stuff in future videos. Fuji is very flash friendly and works very well with flashes in my experience. Okay, and then let's just go over here, and this is the user settings. Of note, I want to, this is where you can format your SD cards, and again, this has 2 SD card slots, and there's different types of settings on how you can arrange these, but you can format one slot independent of the other, which you would expect you could do. And then there's my menu settings. I believe what this is all about is you could pre-configure settings and have them saved in the camera and then recall them when you need them. So for instance, maybe you're doing some low light photography, you want a certain set of settings, or maybe you're doing sports photography, you want a certain group of settings. So you can go into my settings or my menu settings and you can select the option that you want, and then those configuration items are populated for you already, and you just kind of start shooting. I find this interesting. They even tell you the age of your battery. And then on the next page there's some I guess where you can reset your camera to the default, so I'm not going to go in there. And then there apparently is some regulatory information here, and there's 4 pages worth, so that's interesting. Okay, so let's exit out of here, and again I mentioned another area just real briefly. Here's the area where you can set up your function buttons. You have the ability to program different function buttons that are available on the X-T4 body to do the types of things that you would like it to do. We'll definitely do a video on that. Very helpful to have that capability. Alright, so let me get out of here and we'll go back up to the top. So just kind of wanted to lay the foundation for future videos when I will be going in and sharing with you the settings that I use for the different types of photography that I'll be doing. Hopefully you found this helpful if you're new to the Fuji X system. Unfortunately, the X-T1 does not output the HDMI or the display, the menu, via the HDMI output as I understand it. Otherwise, I could do a comparison between the menu system and the X-T1 and the X-T4. So, but the majority of the shooting that I am going to be doing is going to be with the X-T4, although there will be times when I'm probably doing some street photography that I'll be using the X-T1. So, okay, I think that about does it. Let's go back out of here, and if you find this type of content helpful, give it a thumbs up. As always, like, share, and subscribe. and it is your comments and questions that really help drive the channel. It's important feedback to me. You could also introduce new information that was helpful to me, and maybe others are also reading the comments, so it's helpful to them. So don't hold back. Questions are appreciated, and feel free to correct me if I've said something wrong, or if there's oftentimes a better way to say it. I will not be offended. Okay, also in the description I'll put a link to the menu that shows this page that I've been using here on from the manual, and so put a link to that. And then also please take note that in each of my videos will be links to Amazon. If you're an Amazon shopper and you'd like to help support the channel, and the best way to do it is to use one of the links in the description to take you to Amazon. And even if you don't purchase the item at the end of my link, if you purchase something within a 24-hour period, I will get affiliate marketing credit for your purchase. Everything's anonymized. I don't know who buys what. So again, it's kind of a cool way to help support the channel if you think it's worth supporting, and you're an Amazon shopper. I sure hope you will consider using our links. Other than that, till next time.